Ready to launch off. If you want to be part of the launch off impact on LinkedIn, and howdy. Welcome to the launch off. I'm Diana Wynne, your host, and I'm very excited to bring you the show. This show is coming from Melbourne, Australia, live here on LinkedIn Live. And we are coming live from 4 different other channels because we're partnering with Restream. They go live on 30 plus platforms. I'm going live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and here on LinkedIn Live. And I want to ask my community, where are you watching from? There's a link if you'd like a little special moolah off your code. But tell me where you are watching from, the launch off. The launch is a show where I interview LinkedIn experts, LinkedIn influencers about their launch off story. And what does that mean? I've realized, and expected in the last 2 years, that we've had to adapt, be agile in the environment that we're in. And this pandemic has shown that if you're not adaptable, if you're not being agile, if you're not rebranding yourself all the time, then you're going to be stuck. And I'm very excited to bring on my guest, who is the number one, look, the research has been done, is the number one Google rebrand expert. And I'm very excited to bring him on. But before I do, please let us know where you are watching from, launching off from, and please ask questions. This show is for you to have one-on-one intimate Q&A time with my guest. And let's just do it. Let's bring on my guest. My guest is a rebranding expert, slayer of the mundane. I really want to question that. And also is a beatboxer, and we'll find out more about that. Please welcome David Brier.
Bada boom, bada boom. I just figured I would just give you a little bit of rhythm there. Rhythm, because you love dancing so much.
That's it. Straight to the mic as well. You went right in.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. No, yeah. I had to get up close and personal because that was it. I love where we are. So this is beautiful. We got Ingrid from France, and we got Michael Clearman from Tennessee, USA. We've got who's that? William Howard from Atlanta, Georgia. Go Braves! Bang! They just won the World Series. Fabulous.
Look,
David
the fans
Brier,
are coming out. You're a beast.
It.
You're a beast, apparently.
Oh yeah. And we got Ramona Patterson from Florida and Richard Singh from New Zealand. I wonder if any of my first of all, I love my peeps. I mean, before LinkedIn, I did have friends who were from various parts of Australia, and I love the Aussies. I truly love them, and they're like. Now, me being a native New Yorker, to me, there's a rebelliousness. There's a we will not conform. Whether I mean, I've had a few Aussies who say no, we're very conservative. I'm like, yeah, you're conservative well, I won't use any bad analogies early on. I'll save the bad analogies for a little later in the show. But the thing is see, to me, Aussies are kind of like they're like New York friends, except they have a funny accent that I adore.
There you go. Well, let's talk about
Chicago. I love it. Roger, bro. Oh, this is very good.
Roger's on. Good friend Roger, but Daryl as well. The bow tie, loving the hat, the hat, David.
I have at least I have three more hats. I have so many props. It's ridiculous, and I do all my own stunts.
Well, let's just slow down the hats because it's going to be a long drawn, tease it. We're going to tease the hat out.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about this first question I want to ask you, which is, you kind of showed up on LinkedIn. You are a rebrand expert, but for me, I found out you were an expert in beatboxing, and you and Ahmed did this amazing collaboration
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2019. Hey, hey, hey. Can I ask, how long have you known how to beatbox? And why was that important for you to show up on LinkedIn as a beatboxer and collaborate with someone like Ahmed Imam?
I love the question. I'll tell you how it happened. So first of all, one fact that very few people know is, see, first of all, I've always loved music my whole life, and I was a drummer in my teens, right? So I mean, anyway, it's about I can you give me a set, I'll break into the whole beat. So I loved rhythm, and what happened was, the one thing that I know with any platform and being out there, if you're going to show up and kind of just do the same old, that's kind of been done a lot of times, that you're just going to blend in, you're going to be forgettable, you're not going to be thought of as original or distinct or memorable. That's just not where that's like the kiss of death. That would be kind of like someone saying, okay, you've now been quarantined to only listen to 8 tracks of Barry Manilow's greatest hits 24/7 with no food or water for 3 weeks. Be like, that would be about as bad as that, right? And so the thing is I saw this video that Ahmed did with Corey, Joe
Yes,
Apfelbaum, and Rob House. So it
yes.
was the 4 of them, and I was watching it, and Ahmed's like, I mean, I was listening. I was like, I'm going, what? I'm seeing his syncopation was so on point, and he just was in. I mean, he was on point. I was like, and it just. So I reached out and I said, Ahmed, we kind of just knew each other a little bit. We're kind of, I guess we were first level connection, something like that. I said, saw that, thought you just crushed it.
Yes.
I do beatboxing, and I don't do it professionally. I mean, I've got I don't. It's not like I've got like, hey, I have some free time in the evenings. I'm just going to go out and beatbox somewhere. So I don't have that. It's not that good. But it was kind of like, if I'm listening to something, if I'm listening to a song and stuff like that, I'm listening to the percussion, I'm listening to the rhythm, and I'll add additional rhythm tracks as I'm listening to something, because I love so many varieties of music, and I'm hearing the places where you can hit it and accentuate. And because rhythm is great. And I know you love rhythm because you dance, right? You love the dance. You love the rhythm. So I reached out to Ahmed. I found out afterward, Ahmed thought I was pulling a prank on him. Hey, Ahmed, I do beatboxing, da 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 da. And he was like, because he literally confessed up later. I thought you were joking. I thought it was a prank. And so so what I did was, I thought to myself, we spoke, and he was kind of tentatively open. Tentatively open. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, let me make sure he gets the vision. Like, so I'm thinking to myself, because my thought was, if he did, we would kind of collaborate as needed on the vocal, on the lyrics. Um, he wrote the bulk of the lyrics, and there were a couple little tweaks, little things we did, but he got it. He worked in the rhythm. Da, 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 da. I said, good, that works. What can we do to incorporate other people? And my whole thing was, he'd be big, and there would be like 3 or 4 of me. So I'd basically be doing multiple tracks, right? So if I'm laying down a beat that's going like, so
Hey,
like, so on
hey.
top of that, right? So on top of that, if I'm doing that, it's like, so I can lay things on top, and so I'm going, okay, so I'm creating a little percussion rhythm orchestra to support what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that was the concept. So I did a little, I think 25-second little. I said, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. And da, 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 and then I said to the, and then he said after he saw that, he was like, oh, he's serious. And so that was how it came to be. And
And
what
it
we did,
blew up, because it wasn't just between you two anymore. You somehow connected the world.
70, 70. Well, our whole thing was, how do we make it a community thing? How do we make it like inclusive?
Yes.
Because we didn't want it to just be, okay, here we are, look at us, look at it, that. No, we wanted it to be expansive, right? And
Yes.
so the the one problem with the hat, it's too big for the bobblehead. See the bobblehead, he gets lost. He completely gets lost with it. Anyway, but with that, we had to figure out, there were a couple of things we discovered along the way. One, we had to figure out, I was like, what could we do that would have the minimal amount of misinterpretation and the maximum amount of return, like that, to give to 70 different people from around the world, right? And so I was like, we worked on the chorus, and it was like, hey, and I'm like, okay, I can incorporate this hey. So I mean, how and now still, even with that, a few people were like, hey, or people were like, hey. And I'm like, we're like, we just want a hey, give us a hey, so I could sync up the hays.
Oh, I don't know.
And
I don't know if Ahmed ever told you, but I had to do it 2 times because I made my hey sexy. I was like, hey. And he's like, no, I needed to fit the beat. Please make it easy for David to edit. Please make this easy. Hey,
exactly,
hey.
and the thing that we didn't know is that it was, he and we're kind of like perfectionists. I mean, if we're going to put something out, we don't want perfection to be a barrier to completing something, but we don't want to, if we see it can be done better and it doesn't seem too daunting, we're going to go, okay, we're going to lean into it more. And that was where I basically went, so it literally took, because I was really a perfectionist, and I'm dealing with the editing requirements were beyond my editing skills. So I had to bring in a young video editor, and he didn't have a really good sense of rhythm. I would say his sense of rhythm was fairly white, right? So it's like, so it was happening. So like because I grew up in I mean, I don't know. Did you ever watch on Saturday mornings? There used to be American Bandstand. Did you ever watch that?
No.
American Bandstand was kind of like a staple for like on Saturday mornings. It was a lot of the different musical performers would perform on it, but it was generally it was a mixed audience, and they were dancing to the performers and who were like doing it, and so it was a cool thing. But at the same time, Soul Train was on TV. Now Soul Train, so I would literally go. So I'd watch American Bandstand. When the commercials came on, I'd flip to Soul Train because I was like, Soul Train was where I learned to dance, right? That's where I kind of like, I moved, bust a move, do the whole thing. So the rhythm of Soul Train came together. So with all of that, I was like, I know rhythm. I love rhythm. And so I've got my somewhat rhythmically challenged. I said, by the end of this, you're going to be a freaking DJ. You're going to know rhythm. And I said, are you getting it? It's like, there are ways to slice a beat. Like, you got do, 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 and you got do, 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 do. You got the upbeat, and you got the different things. So, so these are all the things we were dealing with, and I'm dealing with this shit. And I'm dealing with like the lines and the this, and he's recording in Australia, and I'm up here, and this stuff isn't syncing up, and we're losing our mind. It took about 50 hours of editing. It was insane.
Wow. Wow. What a story. And it actually blew up and around the world. And before I ask the next question, that's quite linked to about how that blew up around the world. If you have a question for David, please ask in the comments. He's a rebranding expert, and this is your opportunity to get free tips. Like, seriously, like, why not ask questions? But yeah, Tony Robbins does talk about proximity. And I'm very curious in how do you connect with experts around the world? You had Damon John, who was a Shark Tank recently, you interviewed him. And I guess
Yeah.
people on LinkedIn are going to ask, how do you know that person to get
Yeah.
them to come and speak for you? I think that's, and Tony Robbins does talk about it. It's proximity, who's in your network, who will guide you to the next person. How do you connect and how do you maintain those relationships?
Well, one is, it's very interesting. It was interesting because when Shark Tank was first on in the U.S., my wife and I, that was like our guilty pleasure. We loved it. We were like, ooh, this is so cool. You're like an hour just like watching the negotiations and like, oh, Mr. Wonderful is going to do this thing, and and Mark Cuban's going to come in on this side, and then so it was really cool. Well, what
Yes.
happened was after watching it for, I don't know, let's say a year, I decided, because at the time I still have a Fast Company column, but at the time I was actively writing for my Fast Company column. And so I was like, I'm going to write an article on what are the characteristics that go into those that actually get the deals versus those that go like, I'm out, bang, goodbye. And so I just simply did my own analysis. It's like, all right, what are they doing? What is working? What's not working? And I did my own analysis, and I wrote this article. And I called it something about like how to get in the tank and own the room and come out alive, not get eaten alive, and and own the room, or something like that. Within 2 days of publishing it, and I did not know Damon at the time.
Yeah.
Damon retweets it, and he goes, the best article written on Shark Tank ever. Right?
Oh my God, amazing.
And I was like, now at that point I become like a shameless brothel. I'm giving away free samples at every moment, okay? And so and so what happens is I'm like, I mean, because his thing was like that, and I just responded, because obviously I was tagged as the author and did it, and I said, Damon, that is awesome, right? Love that. And hold on, I gotta just get ready for this. And so what happens is he goes, thanks, man. He goes, thanks, man. I mean, immediately responds. And I'm like, this is live. This is well before. I mean, at this point, I'm sure the majority, much of his social interaction is handled by others, because he has to. You have to delegate at a certain point. So what happens is, I start to go into, okay, how do I? This is an open door. How do I turn this into something more? And I think, okay, I want to have Damon. I want to interview him and have him in my blog. I think that would be awesome. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to come up with a headline. I'm going to come up with something that could be like a really good line. So I said, Damon, you need a slogan. You deserve a slogan. He goes, totally. Like what? And so my response is, this is what I came up with. Like, this is all happening probably within 12 minutes, this whole thing, right? Wow. From the first thing to that, I then say, a Damon is a girl's best friend. And he goes, love it, right? He's like, it was classic. It was like, bang. So then we do that. And then I then start looking at, are there other opportunities where we can where I can basically empower, I can support him. That is, if those that are listening to this, we're like, I went in not with my hand out. That is the number one mistake that you can make. If you're approaching people who are higher up on the food chain, you're going, okay, you want to ascend, you want to get that camaraderie and that elevate yourself up. Never come into that relationship with your hand out. Always come out with your hand out to give, not to ask. Because they are being asked. I mean, when we last spoke, and I don't know how many people heard this, because Damon answered this, but he answered it kind of quickly. We were kind of like talking at the same time. I said, how many people approach you on a daily basis? His answer was daily. Hundreds. Daily. That means 700 minimum a week, 1,400. Then you're dealing with, I mean, it's like, what? I mean, seriously? So anyway, so like almost probably anywhere between 2,500 to 3,500 pitches a month. That gets tired. Look, I get pitched a lot. I'm all of us, any of us who have any kind of I mean, I got people routinely who like, hey, David, can you introduce me to Damon? And I'm like, no, No, I don't. I will not abuse that relationship. I know
Oh,
a lot of A-listers. I don't. And but the lesson there is that's how it happened. I just simply did it because I was passionate about what he did. He reciprocated. I then got into, are we going to dance? And so, are we going to dance? And he has always been amazingly gracious to this point. To this point, I had this is one of Damon's books, which he inscribed. Here it is. David, from Damon. And so
gorgeous.
the thing is that I was out of the country. And this is like fast forwarding then to, let's say, a few years after we initially connected, and
Mm.
I was returning from a international convention that I was speaking at to entrepreneurs. And so I get this envelope from Damon. I don't know if you could see it. It
Yeah.
says Presidential Ambassador for Global Entrepreneurship. So this is a program that was initiated by the White House. So
Oh.
Damon presented me with with this, and it's a medallion for this whole program. And so he has always been amazingly reciprocal. I always compliment him on that because he's authentically reciprocal. He's not doing it out of that he has to, or he's required to. He's doing
Mm.
it because for him that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I love that about him. And but that's the same way that I actually met Claude Silver. I mean, Claude was someone that I saw some videos of her, and I was so touched. I love what she stands for, and I love the qualities. And so I just reached out and I just said, by the way, I just want to say that what I said whatever I said, your communication, blah 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 blah. And she, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days goes by. I figured, she's busy. It's fine, whatever, no problem. I wasn't expecting anything.
Yes.
On about day 5, she says, "Oh my God, that was like the most amazing communication. I mean, she's totally vulnerable, right?" She goes, "Oh my God, wow,
Wow.
that's incredible." She goes, "That's incredible. That's incredible. We should jump on a call."
Oh,
You
wow.
so that's how I basically connected with those, and though and any of us that are here that are listening, that are looking to elevate, and even Gary Vee talks about this in a different context, but it's like, so if you're going to reach out, don't go, okay, I reached out to so and so, oh, they didn't respond, oh damn, I'm not worth anything, yeah, they're too busy, and now stop. No,
Mm.
it's like you need to do it in sufficient volume. And so reach out, and whether you may have to make yourself a weekly list, and say, you know what, I'm going to reach out to like 15 people authentically, not
Yes.
with like, I'm going to reach out so I can, well, I'm going to be watching my ROI, like, you can't be miserly about it. You've got to have an abundant viewpoint.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know what? There's no shortage of people who are doing good in the world. And it's like, and some are going to be reciprocal. And I've heard you say this stuff before. That's very, very true. I hope that that's a good thing, Michael. Now, if that's like, because if what you're saying is that I'm being repetitive, then I'm going to jump onto brand new material. I'm changing gears. All right, we're now. All right, Michael's made a point. All right, we're talking about hair. I want to talk about hairstyles.
The rebrand. No, but I think
The
it's
re-
really important. I think LinkedIn talks about, being authentic and vulnerable and being you. And I guess you've just shown that, sure, you reached out to these people and they connected to your message or communication, but it's the relationship you've maintained. That's even more authentic. That
oh
that's
yeah,
that's not
yeah.
just the brand, but this is who you are, and that's what we're asking people on LinkedIn. And I want to ask you this question: is like, how did you launch off on LinkedIn? What is your story that made you realize that LinkedIn is where I need to, talk about authenticity or talk about rebranding? Because for many people who are here on LinkedIn, people haven't made content like you have, which is you've put your face on your celebrities and, call it yourself. Like, what is your LinkedIn story? Like, when did it begin that you realized that LinkedIn is a place to make content?
Um, it was a slow simmering process, to be honest. There's a buddy of mine. His name is Jeremy Ryan Slate. Jeremy is a great guy. I found out after about we kind of hooked up, and he said, "Hey, David," he reached out and he said, "I'd love to have you on a webinar. I'd love to ask you some stuff." He goes, "By the way, you've been mentoring me for the last 2 years." I said, "Like, what are you talking about?" He goes, it's like 2 years ago, this person who we both know, he mentions the person, that person said, follow David and do whatever he's doing, right? And I was like, wow, I'm honored because I consider that there are people doing a hell of a lot more than I'm doing, and and some doing some great content and this, that, the other, but and I appreciate Bill, the fact that he's like never needing for you to go. I will never go meta. You're right, Bill. I see that, and Michael, I've been seeing your comments. So I agree. I absolutely agree. I appreciate that, man. But what happens is the he ends up going, David. He goes, you should be on LinkedIn because I wasn't, and it was like, I don't know, it's going back a few years,
Yeah.
and I said, dude, LinkedIn's a freaking Rolodex. Who gives a shit, right? I mean, that was my viewpoint. I said, who gives a shit? I mean, it's like a freaking Rolodex. It's like a Rolodex. That's a website. It's a Rolodex. It's like blah, 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 blah. Who cares? It was not, and it wasn't. I would say rightfully, it wasn't a platform rightfully.
Yeah.
It is, and it's always elevating its game. But then he goes, no, David, no, you gotta like revisit it. You gotta. It's changing, David. It's changing. It's someone that's saying it's okay to come back. It's okay to come back. I know you got food poisoning the last time you were in a restaurant, but there's a new manager, a new chef, and new suppliers, and everything's good. It's please give us one more chance. It was one of those things. And so I was like, all right. So I started to like look at it, inspected it, and so then I said, okay, I'll start dropping some regular stuff. And people started reaching out to me, like Lacey Abaki and some Michael David Clearman and Chapman, and so there's like some different people were starting to notice and validate my content. I was like, oh, that's nice. And so I just started to like just lean into it more and do some more variety and do some more of this and do some more of that. And my whole thing from day one, like when I first started my own blog on my own site, my whole thing was there are decent blogs out there, some pretty decent blogs out there. There are ones that I don't particularly fancy. I don't dig them because they might be very clinical, like or like spreadsheet driven or just metrics, and they're like devoid of the human component. And to me, it's like how can you brand and not embrace fully the human component? And so I looked at some of the things out there. Some were good, some were not to my liking. And then I basically asked myself the same question that I ask every client. I said, well, if I'm going to do a blog, how am I going to do it differently? And how am I going to make it different and more valuable and give them something that they're not already getting? So I was like, well, you have great minds like Seth Godin or Simon Sinek or other people who are smart, very observant, etc. But I can do something that they can't. I can design. I mean, like that. Like right here. Like I don't know if you know this, but see this right here. This is George Harrison. That's an oil painting. I did that when I was like 16 years old. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So the thing is that my whole life I've always done art and creativity and such like that. And so I was like, well, what I can do that's different is I can talk about branding, I could talk about design, I could talk about impact and leadership, all these various things, but put my flavor on it, but also show visuals to walk people through the visual story. So it's not always just a theory Or some writers like, no, these great strategies, and that's perfect for Coca-Cola or Tesla, or companies that can basically say, oh, good, oh, that's a $5 million campaign, no problem. Here's your down payment, right? What about the companies that actually are smaller, that don't have that budget to invest? They need to do it smarter. They still need to invest, but not on that scale. So they're working up toward it. So that was my thing. I'm going to provide the pulling back the curtain so they can get a look and a feel. They can really, it's like when you get VIP backdoor access to a famous chef. You go, oh, I'm going to, ooh, oh, that's how he makes his meat so tender. Oh, that's how he does that with pasta. Oh, that's how he does that with that sauce. You go like, oh my God, right? So that was the thing. That was my whole thing. And so I just started to do that with regularity. And then Lacey was the first person to reach out to me and kind of take me under wing and say, David, I love your stuff. The only problem is it's not getting enough eyeballs. I want to help you get more eyeballs.
Yeah.
Right. Which was absolutely priceless. And so she saw that and she took that initiative. And so I said, great. I said, so we worked out an arrangement, and I had her coach me and train me and saying, this is what you got to do, and this is the frequency, and this is the this, and this is the that. I was like, okay. And then it started to just, I started just leaning into it more, and leaning into it more, and leaning into it more. So it wasn't like a light switch where it was like, okay, bam, this happened, but I was willing to be adventurous. That's why and then that's what led to the Ahmed thing. And that's what led to other collaborations.
Yeah. Wow. And shout out to Lacey as well, because some of us are veterans here on LinkedIn. 3 to 4 years on LinkedIn, and putting up content and being really invested in LinkedIn. And I want to talk about LinkedIn because someone did mention about Meta, which is that do you think LinkedIn did a good rebrand as a company?
What rebrand are you talking about?
Well,
Because
pre-2017.
Meta is Facebook. Are you talking about
Yes,
Facebook?
it is. Yes,
Ah,
but LinkedIn pre-2017 didn't have video, had no video until 2017. Do you think that was a good rebrand by LinkedIn to put video on?
I wouldn't classify it as a rebrand, but I would classify it as on actually them owning the fact that, oh, we're actually a platform. We should probably look at actually including more than just words and photos, right? So I think it was their waking up. I think they were going like, you know what? Yes, I am a teenager. Ooh, I do have hair on my body. Ooh, oh, what are those things down there? Ooh, oh, okay. And I think it was a self-realization.
Yes, that's such a good metaphor. The pubes, isn't it? That's oh my God. If you're watching, you're listening to myself and David talking about pubes and waking up.
Pubes and LinkedIn and Facebook's Meta
That's
universe.
it.
I'm sure the Meta universe has pubes in it. I have no doubt about it.
Well, your latest post is about Meta and when is a rebrand not a rebrand, and that's gone viral on LinkedIn talking about, because you are Google's #1 rebranding expert, and you have said you can't just change a logo and call yourself a new brand. Can you talk more about that, because this is your expertise?
Sure. Well, the bottom line is too often a rebrand is thought of. We're gonna change our name. We're gonna change our logo. It's like to me, it's treated like lipstick. It's like, look, it's not freaking lipstick. It's like, you know what? If so, well, exactly. But the bottom line is, if look, here's the deal. You're a darling inside and out, and I say that with all sincerity. You are. You're an absolute sweetheart inside and out. If you were some like LA bitch, okay? If you were like some snooty little, housewives from, I don't know, from Starbucks or something like that, right?
Yes.
And it's like, well, changing your outfit wouldn't be a rebrand. It would be that's changing your outfit. So the thing with the metaverse, the bottom line is right now, I would say the Facebook brand is very tarnished. It has a lot of baggage and a lot of debris. They've done stuff impacting people's what people can see, what they can't see. They've been very much part of cancel culture. And and it's not okay. It's just not okay. I mean, if you're going to do that, own it. But if you're going to deny it and pivot and do all this kind of stuff and blah 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 blah, that's a different deal. So this metaverse, whatever. I mean, the whole thing. It's like in adding this little artificial world. To me, that's a distraction.
Yes.
It was basically an attempt to divert. And I think that we, people of Earth, really see through those transparencies of like attempts to divert. It's like when you ask someone a question that you know that they're obviously uncomfortable about, and they're like, and they'll just look at you smilingly, and they say, "Let's go for a walk." Like, ugh. Like, ugh. I just got a case of fleas or something. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, there you go. Well, if you're watching, we are coming live with David, and we're on Restream. We're powered with Restream. You can get $19 off any plan. And there's Keanu Reeves. Thanks for joining, Keanu Reeves. We have a question from the audience. This is from Shalini from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. How to stand out as a personal brand? Because you do big business companies. But with your own learnings of being on LinkedIn and having your personal brand in here on LinkedIn, what's your tip to how to standing out here on LinkedIn or as a personal brand?
Okay. First of all, I think that there's a couple of. First of all, I thank you for that question, Shalini, and I think that there's a couple more fundamental questions that precede that question. And these are important. How to stand out as a personal brand is focused on the metrics of, well, what do you qualify as standing out? Oh, standing out means I get more followers and I get more engagement and I get more comments and da 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 da. That's like a performer going out on stage and going, what do I need to do to get more applause? You see that would be a wrong direction, because now you're doing it for the payoff. That's why I say there's questions that precede this. So it isn't a matter how do you stand out as a personal brand. It's like how do you add value as a voice? Can you give voice and insight to areas that others are not? Because the last thing you want to do is go into a place where you are already doing what thousands of others are already doing. So like, for example, you'll rarely, occasionally, but you'll rarely see me do, like, I'll never do a series of quotes of other people, like quotes from just famous people, or I won't or embed videos of things that have gone viral on YouTube just to get eyeballs. I won't do that. That's not part of my brand. So the thing is, now, could I do that to stand out? Sure. I also see at the same time today, one of the things, if you're particularly on LinkedIn, one of the things that gets a lot of eyeballs are polls. I see some people doing polls like every freaking day. That is, I'm sorry. I don't think no brand warrants that unless you're a freaking research collection body, and at the end of every week, you're kind of like, hey, here are the insights that we've gotten from the LinkedIn community. Now, if you did a little summary, that could be valuable, but I don't see that happening. So I see people going, oh, good, I'm getting 50,000 people who are looking at it. I'm getting 75,000 people. I'm getting 100,000 people. I'm getting 300,000 people. And I see people doing it every day. Now, so is that standing out as a personal brand? No, to me, that is doing something that attracts a lot of attention. Is it building your voice? No. Will they remember you? I doubt it. Is it good to have as part of your mix? Sure, if you're authentically interested. So how to stand out as a personal brand is, how can you how can you shed light on something differently?
Well, before you go on and give that, I do want to ask you a question on the poll. Do you prefer a red or green apple?
A red or green apple? Generally, well, if it's the right amount of red with enough yellow, and it's a crispy and it's crisp and has just the right amount of sweetness and tartness, I love those. Granny Smiths have to get it, like, there's a very narrow margin of deliciousness with a Granny Smith. So I'll incline toward the red. I feel like that was the Apple and Eve version of the Matrix. Will you take the
Oh,
red pill or the blue pill?
yes. Well, that was a question on LinkedIn, a poll
Yeah.
question. Do you prefer a red
Yes.
or green apple? So
Yes.
thank you.
I know. I know. I know. So the thing I would say is, so the key takeaway here, Shalini, and I hope this is useful to you, is don't be sucked in by the vanity metrics of, oh, that's what's happening there, and let me just follow that, because you're always going to be chasing. You're always going to be chasing that. Ooh, so and so got more eyeballs than I did on this particular point. Maybe I should be like them. What? Well, wait a second. Then are you now forfeiting yourself just to get eyeballs?
There you go. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for that. Because I'm guilty of it too. Like I went through the poll phase, asking who do you want to meet, Keanu Reeves or me? It's important metrics.
It's vitally important. Who they want to meet?
uh,
I would say you. I think you would win.
yeah, I did. Surprisingly, I was like, yeah, LinkedIn. They totally don't want Keanu Reeves. They want to meet the snorter. You know, I reckon
I
you
think it's
should
perfect.
do a poll. You should make a poll yourself too.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who I would compare myself with. Like, if you want to meet me or
Damon John.
that would be bad. I think that would be bad. I don't know that I want to know the answer. That'd be brutal.
Or just well, yeah, who's another like just
I just want to know. I just want to know that when you were doing the polls, that you called yourself the pole dancer.
no. Oh my God. You are like I think you could have had a career in stand up. You could have had a rebrand in stand
Yeah.
up.
Well, hey, look. It's not. The year's not over yet.
No. But
Uh,
I know I love it that you painted that picture behind you and you carry that with you in your business. And it makes all sense. And there's a question last week, someone asked with Christian Sherry, how do you allow that creative flow? Like, it feels like you're quite creative and you bring that into your business. Like
always,
it always.
always.
Wow. And so
Oh,
how do you
you got
how
to.
do you
You've got
how do you,
to.
yeah, but how do you maintain that? How do
How do
you
you
maintain
not maintain? How seriously? How do you what is worth the price of giving that up?
Mm.
Nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, well, we get each other because we're probably quite creative here on LinkedIn. And there's a
Yeah.
question I want to ask you is, what's the story behind the face-offs? Because you sometimes I feel like you're Brad Pitt, sometimes you're no some
Well,
kind. What is
I
it?
just I,
Is this your brand? Is this what it is?
well, I mean, it was just. I mean, look. Anybody that knows me, that works with me, or knows of me, or has exchanged messages with me, or whatever like that.
Yes,
I'm hearing your freaking your. I don't want to say I don't
it's a rooster.
I don't want to say I hear the cocks in the background. I didn't want to say that.
Look, we've had the word pubes, cocks, and brothel in 43 minutes. Like, who's turning up to this LinkedIn Live right now? Please don't report me. Please don't. Thank
So
God I'm a comedian. Thank God I'm a comedian. Like, this would be
absolutely,
an
absolutely.
annihilation of my branding right now.
So, but the thing that I would say is, what the hell was your question? I lost your question.
Why the face off? Why the
Oh,
Brad
why the
Pitt?
face off? Face off. I I was just playing with. I was playing with. It was around the time. It was around the time that Andy Foote and Cher Jones and we said,
Yes,
hey,
Ray Jones.
let's share this thing on let's share stage on Clubhouse and stuff like that. And so we started doing this. And to me, I was like, all right, how do I shake this up so that as people are going through, people are always scrolling. How do I make it so that if I saw that, I would like, what the hell's that? Like it would stop me, right? What will be the scrolling, the scroll stopper. And to me, Cher Jones, who I think she's incredibly beautiful. I think she's a gorgeous face, great hair, and so I thought, to me, Cher Jones was like a canvas for me, and Andy was a canvas for me. And so I said, how can I? And because I do have a very left of center, meaning just very unexpected sense of humor or piecing things together that people go, how the hell do you put those two things together? Where did that come from? So I would look and I'd go, okay, what do I need to, what we're talking about this week. And so to me, it was a little bit of a facial playground. Okay. And that's literally where it started. And so I started just play with that. I do it less with myself, just by myself. Occasionally there will be ones, but when it's me and another, but there was one that I loved where I was holding up my I was holding up this is my coin. This is my coin that I had made. And
Yes.
so so there's that. And so this thing's made out of, this thing's heavy. This is freaking heavy. And so what happens is I was there with two friends, and when at a speaking gig. So there's one and there's the other, and I'm in the middle like this, and I was able to like make me sing, ow, I feel good. You knew that I would now. And so I was like, so I'm there. The whole thing's still, except for me, kind of, I feel good. It's like this. Anyway, so it has its place. It kind of like fits where it fits. That's all.
You are definitely the slayer of the mundane, like seriously, and you are an improviser. That's why you're so successful in your work.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
so clear because we've not met in real life, and we were so close to in 2019 because I remember you messaged me, you voice messaged me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, how far are you?" And it was like 7 hours away. It's like, no, it's not worth it to come out and meet for 2 hours. So that's why I hold that space because there was this genuine wanting to connect, and that's why 2 years later we finally connected here on the show. But yeah, you are a pure improviser. Like,
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well,
oh,
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you if you know a word. There's a word. It's a word that I actually became aware of. I only learned this word probably about 6 or 7 months ago. Do you know the word? Do you know the word extemporaneous?
no.
It's an amazing word. So
Ooh.
I ran into this word because I was listening to something. I was listening to a lecture, and this word was used, and I was like, "What is this?" So, and then I had to look it up. It is spoken or done without preparation.
Mm.
Basically, in other words, improvisation.
Mm.
And 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 literally, it comes from the word extempore, which is spoken and done without preparation. But the thing is, it comes from Latin, on the spur of the moment. And
Beautiful.
so the thing is like anybody who can, it's like there are musicians who can be extemporaneous. There are speakers who can be extemporaneous. There are others who can't.
Mm.
There are actors who can be extemporaneous, and there are actors who require a script. That's one of the reasons that I love jazz, is because jazz, it's like you'll go, okay, there's a beat being laid down, you'd like boom, 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 and then you get on top of that, and what happens? A spontaneous, unwritten melody created in the spur of the moment, extemporaneously. Prior to that, if someone said, when I heard the word extemporaneous, I probably had heard it a few times in my life. It sounded like, "Sir, do you have any baggage? Do you have any extemporaneous baggage?" No, I'll take it all with me. I had no clue what the hell it freaking meant.
Yeah.
It was like,
Oh, love it. No, that's such a beautiful word. I will go and find that word. And I feel like this whole conversation we've had for the last 50 minutes has been that. We've just been bouncing around each other like popcorns. And that's quite beautiful. And I just
It's
want to
so,
mention,
but I want to know. But I want to know. Wait a second. Are you the butter or are you the salt?
oh,
Ooh,
butter.
that might be a poll. If you are the popcorn, if you're the popcorn.
Do that. You have to do that, David. You have to do that poll.
I think so. I think that might be tomorrow's post. That might be tomorrow's post.
Inspired. But I just want to call out people who've been watching this. Michael's a massive fan, and in your community, he's said it's great practice to bring value to them or the organization before offering your PayPal. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. Exactly,
Look,
exactly.
seriously, these are all quotes you can put on your website. Is content king on the planet? Michael, how much are you paying him? Kevin's also said, one thing we need to realize is the Matrix was in control. After the game is over, how do we best work together? Mm.
Yep.
Beautiful human beings from Erin has also said, great rhythm. We've got extra side hustles, everyone. It's not just the rebranding that we're working on. And also, yeah, David's created a video for me that put my business on a much higher level. So Michael, clearly, another hat. There we go. Slow tease there. Matches your collar.
Ending.
Yes. So I think people are saying to us, yes to former jazz vocalist. And we'll end with last quote from Michael. David will be my go-to guy for branding the rest of my business career. Damn.
Love it. Love
Quote, 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 quote. David, thank you so much for joining the show.
it. Well, so we're done. We're done. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh
That's
my God. Well,
that was
hey, look. I mean,
2 minutes of power force field work.
absolutely. But with Aaron here. First of all, Aaron, I didn't even know that you were a former jazz vocalist. Oh my God. So Aaron, are you telling me that you don't have a question? You want to take advantage of me with me right here, right now, Aaron? Wop. Come on. Are you telling me you got nothing?
Oh, look, the people are coming out. Bill, there's brand and then there's Brier branding. Oh my
There
God.
you go. I love it. I love it.
Michael's
I
like,
love
do
it.
me
So
next.
what,
I'm
Michael?
not
Do
sure
you
what
have a
Michael's
do you have a
saying.
question?
No.
What? He says, do me next. So what do you need? What do you need? You need. I apologize. I have done late. I have done late. What does that even mean? What language are you speaking, woman?
Jazz.
Ba-doop boop boop. Ba-doop ba-doo boop. Oh, you okay? I got one. She's got one. She says she's got one. All right. Ba-doo boop boop bop boom. Ba-doo boop boop. Ba-doo boop bop boop. Ba-doo boop bop. What? Okay. This has been awesome. Aaron Whitehead. Oh, Aaron's always got a question. Aaron brings the fire all the time. She always brings the fire. She's a human flame torch. I mean, that's what she is. What is the most unique branding experience? Oh, Aaron, what's the most unique branding experience or opportunity you've ever had to work with?
There you
Oh my
go.
God. I've had various ones, but
Yes.
one that comes to mind that's always fascinating is this. It's earlier in my career, and I had a guy. I had. You want to tell about saucies? Although no, the sausage is good, but it's more intricate. It's not it. It would take longer. You should have told me 30 minutes ago.
Yes.
That's what I gotta say, Michael. But check out saucies. Check out Michael's saucies. Check out Michael's saucies. He's got phenomenal sauces for great stuff for sports venues. But with that being said, most unique branding experience or opportunity. I had to brand ice. I had a company that came to me and said, "Hey, would you brand our ice?" And I'm like, "Frozen water." And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, so let's explore. Let's walk together a little bit. Is there something unique about your ice? Is there something better about your ice? Something?" Yeah, no, not really. Sort of ham haw. And then he goes, some people said maybe it cools drink or drinks faster. I said, really? He goes, well, that's what some people said. I have no way of proving it. I said, can you go to an independent lab and get that verified? He goes, sure. So he goes ahead and does it. So he takes his ice, he takes traditional ice that you usually get in like a convenience station or something like that. And you just get, and he had him test it for cooling and stuff like that. Well, after about 10 days, I call him up. I said, "Do you hear anything back?" He goes, "Yeah." So what? He goes, "Our ice actually does cool. It actually it does cool faster." I said, "How much?" He goes, "About." We've worked out the math. It was about 33%. And so, and then after finding out why, I was like, "How the hell? How and why does that happen?" Well, the shape of his ice, it was cylindrical, so and it had a hole in it, so it actually had more exposed surface. As a
Yes.
result, it cools your drink faster.
Ah,
So I created ice rounds. Ice rounds cools 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 your drinks 33% faster than traditional ice. It was like it became the number one brand for ice in the States that people asked for by name, and it was crazy, right? It
oh,
was freaking nuts. But that was really challenging. But that's the way I go. That's the way I look at it, because when I talk to anybody, one of the things they say, well, where do we start? I said, well, the first thing is we look at you're communicating into a place, and this is true for everyone that's here listening to this, whether you're dealing with a personal brand or you're dealing with a product or a service of any sort. What is the noise level out there, right? What's the noise level out there? Like, so in other words, like one thing, like if I didn't have a career, one thing I probably wouldn't want to be is I wouldn't want to be a LinkedIn expert or LinkedIn coach, because there's like a gazillion of them. I had to figure out a new way to position or package myself. Um, and I think that's true for any product or brand. So when I'm collecting information and doing my homework, I'm looking at what's the noise level, what are the overlapping, what are the common overused, just boring shit, you know?
mm,
And anyway, that's the basic thing that happens is I look at that to find how are we going to be unlike all the noise, because you only have two options. You're either adding to the noise or you're
mm.
rising above the noise. That's it. There is no gray area. Exactly. You're either like, oh, I can't tell the difference between you and everyone else, because we can't, people will not come to new conclusions by hearing the same old stuff they've heard before.
Yeah.
So we can't use old information, old pitches, old approaches, cookie cutter templates, and all that bullshit. That's bullshit. So the thing is our job is, if we're in creating a business, adding value and stuff like that, is to help people arrive at a new conclusion, a new way of seeing or dealing with life, or enjoying things or solving things or getting things done or making their impact felt and known in the world. So anyway, so does that gave you, oh, I love it. Yes. I love it. I love that. Yes. See, now that I know that you're a jazz singer, it's like, I mean, all I want to do is scat. Hey,
But isn't it amazing now, because Erin shared us, she's a jazz singer. We now know her as a jazz singer. It's like,
completely.
yeah, pull her out of the fish pond, school of fish, and just made her
Exactly.
like a unique jazz singing fish.
She is you, Erin. You will forever be seen as, in my eyes, I will never be able to unsee you as a jazz scat singing goldfish.
Yeah. And look, I do want to address this. Your branding's so good that I do remember your sources, because you did an ad. I think you showed it on LinkedIn, and it's with the
Mm-hmm.
cow. I think it was the cow, wasn't it? There's it was a oh, I can't remember, but I do remember it. So I just want to say, if I can remember the ad, that means you've done it right, which is good.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I look. I mean, well, I'll tell you. And this is just one. This is the flip side. This is one of the flip side that I'll share with regard to what Aaron asked.
Yes.
I had a client, and they're still a client. we've been working together. I helped them in their prior company. We blew it up, sold it. He became multimillionaire as a result of selling that. And then after 5 days, he calls me up. He goes, David, retirement isn't for me. He goes, I have an idea for a new business. Let's go out to lunch. So we go out to lunch and we sit down. He explains to me his concept. I'm like, okay, good. And then I go, and then he says, this is what I've been calling it. I said, dude, we got to take that back behind the barn and shoot that. That is freaking death row, dude. And he goes, he's like, okay. He goes, okay. And so, but within 8.5 years, 9 years, he ends up, turns into $1 billion company. And we go out to lunch about 2 years ago. We sit down and we're eating some Japanese food, and he goes, David, he goes, thank you. I'm like, for what? He goes, because of you, I was able to actually donate $50 million to causes that I actually support, that are true humanitarian causes that will benefit mankind.
Wow.
He goes, and I'm working on my next 50. And that's when my jaw hit the ground, because all of a sudden I realized I don't just help people get successful. I help the movers and the shakers of the world do great things to scale, right? I mean, he said, he goes, this was able to happen because of what you did. And that's where it blows my mind. So I'm like, well, shit, that's where it gets magical.
Wow. I will have to leave it there. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
And thank you for the work you continue doing. I know that in 2022, we will meet. I will fly across to the US. We'll have our jazz session. We'll rival against your Hey video with Ahmed. All I bring him with me. Or I drag him and get him on the plane and come out. But David, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your work and your heart. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you are a ray of sunshine.
Oh, thanks.
And I adore the rainbow spectrum that emanates from you. I adore it. I cherish it. I love it. It's fabulous. And don't let anything in any way diminish that beautiful shine.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel very blissed and joyful that you've come on and shared and to end the show with that beautiful story. So thank you. And
Totally
thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you to everyone who's joined in and jumped in, and to Michael especially, who's joined us for the whole hour. Thank you. You've got a new fan now, Michael. And next week we've got our next episode with Lila Smith. He'll be joining us next week on the launch off. We'll see you all next week.
And Lila is an amazing singer. Get her to sing. Get her to sing. She has an unbelievable voice.
Well, I have met her in real life, and we did sing. So when 2022, get the LinkedIn band together.
The reunion tour. What? Reunion tour? Were you guys ever together before? No, but that won't prevent us from having a reunion tour. We'll still have we don't have to have been together before to have a reunion tour. Why is it a reunion tour? Because we said it's a reunion tour. That's the kind of reunion tour we're having.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll all see you soon, and we'll catch you all next week. Bye.